everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Male Perspective. I am your host, Lana Reid, and today is another amazing day. I get to spend some more time with another one of the men of Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated. Today, I have with me Cedric Jones. He is the current Polaris of the Alpha Omega chapter out there in Indy. Looking forward to spending some time with him today. But first and foremost, as I always do, sir, I take a quick moment to pause, say thank you to you for making time for me today. Time is a gift. Once we give it, we can't get it back. So I truly appreciate you setting aside this time in your day to sit down and chat with me. And with that, sir, welcome. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate the invitation again. So thanks for having me on.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I always start off these interviews asking, how long have you been an Iota man and where did you pledge?
All right. So I crossed on February 19th, 1999. Yeah, just celebrated my 25-year anniversary. I was on the charter intake class at Fort Valley State University. It is now the Delta Theta chapter of Iota Phi Theta Fraternity. Some interesting points. I didn't realize it until I started thinking about it. A couple of years ago, we were the first chapter charter outside of the AU Center. We have a chapter at Morehouse, one at Clark, and we were the first one charter outside of the AU Center. So, and out of us sprung Valdosta State, Albany State, Georgia Southern. So, yeah, so it's like, dang, the best, one of the good things about being in my fraternity is you get a lot of opportunity to make history. So,
Yeah. I talked to another one of your brothers, and he's celebrating 33 years, and he was saying
okay.
he's one of the oldest ones in his particular area. So,
Mhm.
um, well, that brings me to ask, 99. Okay, what was it in particular on the yard about Iota that resonated with you and said, this is where I belong?
And I like the way you said that too. I love the way you said where you belong, because I always tell people, don't go where you fit. I can fit a snake in my pocket, but it doesn't belong there. So, I have friends who, I was cool with and everything else that joined other organizations. And, I noticed how, full transparency, I was, in my younger days, I was arrogant. I knew everything.
No.
Nah, just a little bit, just a little arrogant, But after seeing the way some of the people change when they join, I'm like, if that did that for them, how am I going to react if I get letters?
Mm,
Not knocking anybody else's experience or anything else, but it just really made me step back and look at the whole Greek life experience. And
mm-hmm.
then one day, one of my line brothers, KC, came to me. He was like, "Man, have you ever heard about Iota Phi Theta?" And I'm like, I saw this show on BET, heard about it before, but they're not here. He's like, "Listen, we got a bunch of guys ready to go, and would you want to get on board?" And that's when I talked to my number two, who recently passed away back in May, because me and him were both thinking the same thing, like we were going to do this one thing, and then it's like, you know what? I don't know so much anymore. But then we both decided to go together, same
Mm-hmm.
time. He was the two, I was the six. And we got a chance to do something great.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we decided to make this chance, take this shot.
Okay, awesome. Now, you've mentioned that part of one of the wonderful things about being an IOTA man is you get to make history in a lot of areas. And I want to say, many many years ago, my freshman year in college, many years ago at UCLA, I think you gentlemen probably were a little over 20 years old back in
Mhm.
'87.
Yeah.
So I did not have the fortunate pleasure to run into a lot of you. But it makes me wonder, what does a young man do? Let's say he's in high school and he's made up his mind that he wants to be an iota, and he happens to go to a college where there's no iotas on the yard. Is there a process for him to still
Oh
become
yeah,
an
it
okay?
definitely is. I mean, you can always reach out to our national website,
Okay.
iotaphitheta.org. And when you do that, it can link you up. I mean, there might not be any IOTAs on campus, but guess what? There might be a graduate chapter nearby.
Okay.
And that young man gets the opportunity to make history just like I did, because all it takes, in our fraternity, we say it takes a man. Perfect example. The NBA All-Star game was here just last year in Indianapolis. It was this February actually, um, and they had the HBCU basketball game, and they did the roll call, all the different organizations, and when we say it takes a man, I'm looking at it as they call each org, and I'm like, I'm probably the only Iota in here. You know what? It takes a minute. You got to get up and do the call by yourself if you have to. But surprisingly, there was another brother just right down, right in front of me. So I was like, hey, where you from and everything else. So,
Mm,
but to get back on track, like, yeah, you can just reach out to nationals.
okay.
And from that, if this is where you belong, then at this point, guess what? The process begins. So
Okay.
that's all it takes.
Okay, great, great. Now, for a lot of outsiders looking in, they look at the pledging process, and it's a little confusing, and they don't understand the bigger picture in it. But reflecting on your own journey, what would you say some of the life lessons or character lessons that you learned that still play out in your life today?
Mm. I think for me, my pleasuring process, I'm what they call an old head. So I went back, came through in a different generation.
It's changed.
But it was really about recognizing your strengths and your weaknesses and being able to lean on somebody else. It
Hmm.
was 10 of us when I came through. 10
Okay.
started, 10 finished, yeah, listen, and you look at some
That's
of
rare.
you look at some of your line brothers, and it's like,
Yeah.
man, this dude, I don't know if, like, come on, you got to pull through. You got to pull through. No man left behind. Like, come on. Uh,
Hmm.
because, back then it wasn't easy,
Yeah.
because one thing about the pledging process, as I've aged and matured, I realized that, you know what? I want to challenge you mentally, and that's what it's supposed to be. It's a mental challenge, you
Hmm.
know. And once you get out of the process, it's going to take a lot more work. You're going to have to be a thinking man to be able to be successful. If
Hmm.
you let pressure get to you during the process, then guess what? You've got to learn how to adapt and
Hmm.
move and how to listen, how to learn. Those are the things I really took away from my process, bonded with each other, pulled each other's weight, drug each other through this, but
Hmm.
in the end, I can say it was definitely worth it. I will not change. We were talking to some guys just the other night, and it's like, would I go through it again? No, I would not want to go through it again. But, would I change anything that I went through? No, I would not,
Hmm.
because it built some major, major life lessons, some major bonds. Like I said, we just turned 25, our intake class, our line this past February. So, and we lost, I mentioned that I lost my two, but my seven also passed away like the day after he did. But, the impact on that, those memories we had are still there. Uh,
Hmm.
Going down to their services, back in Georgia, driving that 8, 10 hours to get there and having
Hmm.
all of us come back together for that moment. Like, yeah, we miss them, but those experiences that we have together,
Those memories.
life changing. So
Yeah, yeah. And let me give the wife some shout out real quick, because you mentioned that you learned the tools of listening and learning. I'm pretty sure
mhm.
your wife appreciates that, right?
See, I never was a good listener though. I'm trying. I'm trying. Again, I know everything, so I can't be wrong, right? I mean, I tell you what, the process does teach you patience.
Hmm.
It does teach you modesty, humbleness.
Hmm.
It teaches you when to fight and when not to fight. Uh, but with that, I've been married now. It'll be 22 years in
Beautiful,
May. Yes, 20. Yeah,
beautiful,
we got married in '03. So yeah. So
beautiful.
yeah. So yeah. And marriage is almost like pledging in some way. It's like,
Maybe more stressful, right?
but again, those two kind of run neck and neck because I mean you're building something.
Yeah, yeah. And
We're here to build something together. So
that's right. That's right. She has to be your partner, especially in this leadership journey you have, leading the chapter. So that presents some extra pressure too, as well. Which
exactly.
your chapter, Alpha Alpha Mega, how long have you gentlemen been around?
Oh, we were charter. We just turned 30 years old.
Oh,
The
so you're one of the older chapters. Well, midway.
Yeah,
Okay.
we were the first double letter chapter. So, because before us you would have had oh God, who would have been before us? We don't have an Omega chapter, but we were the first triple letter chapter, actually, not double letter.
Okay.
So I mean, we've been around since September 19th, 1999. That's when we were chartered. So
Oh, okay.
so
Are
we
you guys
we
a large chapter or smaller or?
comparatively are. I mean, on our rolls we have about 50 or 60 brothers. So that are really trying to get the work done. So, and when you think about those different levels, it's funny on a chapter level because, you know, it's almost militaristic in a way. You know, you got your generals that are leading the charge, and your lieutenants, you know, you got your good foot soldiers that show up and get the work done when they need to. So, but you know, being the head honcho is fun because I always get told like, man, this isn't a dictatorship. That's one thing you learn. That's one thing you learn, you know, in leadership, you know, and it kind of goes back to that whole pledging process. You know, you're here to guide and try to show people the ideas and everything else. But you know, going back for one hot second to the whole marriage thing, yeah, having her sharing me out to not just the chapter, but you know, all the other D9 organizations to try to lead and build something together. You know, it's been tough, you know, but it's all a learning experience. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, the goal is when it's all said and done, you're better for it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Is she a sweetheart?
yeah, actually her anniversary, she just became my Iota sweetheart last year, December 2nd. Now to that point, when I came through, any wife was automatically a sweetheart. So technically she's been a sweetheart since 2003. But you know, it's been 10 years because there was some stuff going on where Iota sweethearts had to go off and form an organization.
Okay.
So that came with the National Interfraternity Conference Council, if I remember correctly. So, but yeah, Iota Sweethearts are their own organization. She recently got involved with that this past December. So I've got it on my calendar to get her something for that, you know, because she'll probably forget. You know, she might forget this her anniversary, but I gotta remember to bring home some roses that day. So,
Can't miss no anniversaries. Can't miss no
mm-mm.
anniversaries.
Nope, none of
Okay.
them. So,
Okay. So we are, as we take this, we are in the process of embarking on the holiday season for 2024, and then we will be going into 2025. And community service, being a servant, I know that's very ingrained in Iota. So what will we see? Where will we see you gentlemen in the indie community?
we just completed our turkey giveaway yesterday. We put together whole meal kits for like 30 families that you know, had the turkey, all the sides, everything else. So they have that for Thanksgiving dinner, you know, next Thursday. Um, we also are lined up to do the Reads Across America event on December 14th. And if you're not familiar with it, it's an annual service where you go out to different military cemeteries and lay wreaths on the graves of the soldiers. I can't
Okay.
remember all of the history because last year was the first year we did it, but some of the backgrounds, like, you know, 40, 50 years ago, somebody looked out and said, you know, there is no reason that these service people should not be, you know, remembered at Christmas. And one thing about our organization is a lot of brothers on the graduate level come from the military. You know, I know my vice Polaris was in the service. You know, our state director was in the military. I got a lot of brothers in the chapter that had military service. So that's big for us. And then one of the local organizations we work with here is 𝗙𝗘𝗥𝗘𝗏, and we're doing their toy drive again this year. So those are our big three events going to the end of the year. So
Okay. Okay. Noble.
noble
So
characteristics.
so do people have an opportunity to make donations for you to pass out at the
Most definitely. Most definitely. If people want to make donations to them, they can. I don't have their information with me right in front of me, but you know, we can always get that out because they are a 501c organization. You know, they're a charitable organization. They're always looking for more support. So,
Okay, okay. Now, one of the things that I have noticed over the years about D9 that I admire and respect, and this is even within the friendly rivalry. I mean, we all
mhm,
know you guys, mine is the best, mine is the best.
mhm,
Um, there's collaboration. You guys all come together when the rubber hits the road, and this is men and women. And I think this is a very important message, especially within the Black community, because for
mhm.
some reason or another we're at odds with each other. I don't understand. But why do
Right.
you think it is that D9 gets it right when it comes to coming together, collaborating across the genders, and we can't seem to get that to happen outside of D9 more often than not?
You know, I think a lot of the time it's just based on life experiences.
Mhm.
You know, I would throw that out first. You know, I went to a HBCU.
Okay.
So it's a little bit different for me. You know, like you said, there's always friendly rivalry. You know, everybody talks trash about each other. Everybody has their diss chants and everything else. But like you said, when it hits the fan, like, look, you know, I'm old enough to remember. New Jack City, hey, we all we got.
Mm,
We all
that's
we
right.
got,
That's right.
because in the end, when they come looking to take out one group, first, it's first this group, then that group, then this group, then that group. You may be number six on the list, but eventually they're going to work their way down to you.
Hmm.
So, and I think, as a whole, D9 realizes that we're more impactful together. We kind of understand the value of networking.
Hmm.
Each of us knows somebody in a different arena that can help build something better. Again, I get the example about building a chapter. You're looking for different keys and different people to do different things. Well, I know an alpha that might be in this field. I know a Sigma Gamma Rho that's doing this. I know an
Hmm.
Omega man that is connected downtown. Aside from being Iota, I'm also a Freemason, Prince Hall Freemason. And, I know a brother from my chapter who's a Kappa who works in the mayor's office. Like,
Hmm.
so if I got to make a connection with somebody, how do you get there? So
Hmm.
D9, is almost like, everybody jokes around and I kind of laugh about the whole, secret society stuff. But what people don't realize, those are all networks. Like,
That's
hey, how
all.
do who can get me to this place and that
That's
place?
all it is. Yeah.
So, and I think that's what the D9 really learned really quickly, not trying to be arrogant or brag or anything like that, but I think that, going back to W.E.D. Du Bois and the talented 10th, you
Yeah.
know, there's going to be a certain group that gets it and a certain group that doesn't.
Hmm.
But our job is to help that 90, that, 9 10s realize, like, look, we got to work together to make this thing better. Like, see what we're seeing.
Hmm.
Um, and when I say talented 10th, when you really think about it, that kind of goes to anything in life. Those are your leaders. Those are the
Hmm.
ones who have that vision and see it. So
Hmm.
I think that's kind of how D9 kind of got it right for the most part. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, truly a good example of working together to move us forward as a people, as a community, as a collective. And I just wish, excuse me, that the larger population, the larger community at whole would see the value with that. But and that kind of brings me to my next point. And let me see here how I can not to be political, not to get too
Mhm.
political, but to recognize that here in America, democracy is in a very odd place, right? Um, Especially when it comes to Black folks moving forward. Why do
Mhm.
you think now more than ever it's important for Black men to have a strong community, tribe, brotherhood around them, just to keep the mentals in the right place?
Oh yeah. Going back to what I said earlier, it's you today, but it could be me tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
you know. And it's kind of interesting you bring it up because just yesterday a bunch of us were sitting around just chopping it up, having
Mm-hmm.
conversations about real life. One of my chapter brothers, invites brothers to his porch, and the porch is just we're coming to sit down, and just hash it out. Just talk about what's going on. What are you dealing with? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and the subject matter ranges from politics all the way to sports.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how we as a chapter going to move to, man, did you see what was on TV last night?
Mm-hmm.
So um, I think the biggest thing is that one thing I talk to my conservative friends about, because I'm a moderate, I
Mm-hmm.
tell people I don't care what you do as long as you don't hurt nobody or raise my taxes,
There you go.
you know. But I always tell people like what politicians do. There are 100 issues that they're bringing to us. We disagree on three. We agree on 97.
Mm-hmm.
So, the three we disagree on, all right, we'll figure that out, eventually, but we have these other 97 things we can fix. Why not work on those?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but as Black men, it's really important for us to realize that no matter your political thinking or anything else, like in the end, I think we're far better than we were years ago, but nobody's still giving us the advantages that other people are getting right now.
Mm-hmm.
And even by saying that, I always tell people that the only advantage I really want is a fair shake. All I'm asking for is a real pure opportunity to show you what I can do.
There
You
you go.
know, um, but again, that goes back to what I was saying before. That's where the networking part comes in because, we're here to support each other mentally. We're here to support each other to find financial opportunities, career opportunities. And that's why it's really important for us to have those connections with one another. Because
Mm-hmm.
if we don't, you find yourself stranded out there, by yourself. And
Yeah.
that's a lonely place to be,
There
so
you
we definitely
go.
got to avoid that.
There you go. And I think I saw, I was roaming around the national website. I think you guys are unique. You have your own job board. Did I see that correctly?
We do. We do. And actually,
Awesome.
a lot of organizations are doing that as well. So,
Okay.
yeah, a lot of people do that because, again, I'm an alumni member. I've been here in the organization for 25 years. But with our undergrads, I have one brother here in the city who works as a recruiter at one of the universities here in town. And, he'll send out information like there was something at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, an internship that he sent out and, like, push to the undergrads.
Okay.
Now, the first thing I did when I saw that, I'm also a member of the local council for the NPHC here. I'm
Okay.
a rep. So in the group me, the first thing I did was push it out like, hey guys, here's something for you. And one of the gentlemen who's a member of Phi Beta Sigma, posted. No, he actually saw me at an event. I was like, man, listen, I have three guys interview for that.
There
You
you
know,
go.
if we don't take advantage of it, if my organization can't get into it, I at least want somebody else to be advanced.
Yeah.
And the only request I make is just, yeah, hey, I got this from the Iotas. That's it.
There you go.
You
There
know,
you
just
go.
just just give us that little bit of credit. So like, yeah, the Iotas put this out and
Mhm.
they again, uh, I remember seeing a meme once that it says, different letters, different colors, same mission. We're here to help each other out and advance each other. So that's what really counts when it's all said and done.
There you go. That networking. And I don't think that let's see, there are some people out in this world today that are doing some pushback against the D9, and I'm always puzzled as to where you think the Black community would be without the presence and the networking and the collaboration that D9 has. And it's like, well, if they were to just poof go away, what will we have? So I'm always a little bit puzzled and concerned about that. But
Yeah, it's interesting because I've got my own personal thoughts on it. But that's for a later show.
maybe
Um,
off camera, right?
yeah. Well, people always joke around that, one of the worst things that happened to the Black community was desegregation. You know. And while I disagree with that a little bit, you have to know where your roots are.
Hmm.
You have to know where the strength and the life comes from.
Hmm.
Um, because for me, like I said, I went to a HBCU, best experience of my life. There are no HBCUs in Indiana, but my youngest son is 14. And I'm planning on sending him to I chose HBCU because I spent 2 summers. Um, in 92, I spent the summer at Clark Atlanta University during the apprenticeship. In the summer of 95, I spent the summer at Fort Valley doing the apprenticeship.
Hmm.
Those are still around. And my idea is to get him to one of those schools, spend 6 to 8 weeks and get that experience.
Hmm.
We live in a diverse neighborhood. My son goes to a diverse school,
Okay.
but until you're in that, you really can't experience it.
That's right.
Same as the D9, come to the HBCUs, go to the D9 to get that love and culture and build character building that you need. But guess what? After you get your bachelor's degree at a Morehouse or a Clark or a Fort Valley or a Tennessee State, that's when you go to University of Tennessee to get your doctorate. That's when you go to
Hmm.
UGA or the University of Maryland for
Hmm.
those higher level degrees. But it's something about being that close knit family because at HBCU you're not just a number.
That's right.
The teachers know your name. Mr. Jones, where you been the last 3 years? I haven't seen you.
Mm.
Well, Doc, it's homecoming week. Okay. Okay.
They're more
Listen,
concerned about you getting out of here. Yeah.
exactly. Dr. Romelda Simmons at Fort Valley would always say, don't let homecoming be your homegoing. So, and she's an AKA. So, I mean, she'll tell you, like, listen, don't fool yourself. A lot of people have flunked out that
Hmm.
first semester. I was almost one of them. So,
That's all right, but let's get you back in shape here. You mentioned your son. Can he come home in a few years and say, I don't want to be an Iota man. I want to be something else. Will that be a
so
good conversation?
I'm happy to say that I asked my youngest son, like, son, I got a question for you. If you go to college, if you play it, what's it gonna be? What's you play it or you go to right? He's like, well, Dad, honestly, it's Iota or nothing. I'm like,
Proud dad moment. Proud dad.
and what's funny is that's my youngest, my oldest. He's a senior this year, and we'll figure out college on the road. But he loves to antagonize me by saying he's going to pledge this other organization, who will remain nameless right now. So yeah, he likes to poke at me, but I
Mm-hmm.
always return the joke like, so you got to get into college first. You got to get into
Mm-hmm.
college. You got to get accepted first. So,
Mm-hmm. Well, you
uh,
can go to HBCU like it's there.
hey, I would love to see it happen. I would love to
Mm-hmm.
see it happen for sure. So.
So you've been an Iota man for a minute. You've watched the evolution and growth. You talked earlier about how pledging has changed. And you've got some young folks coming in now, and these young folks have new ideas and
Yep.
new. Where do you see, or where would you like to see Iota evolving and growing in the future?
So I've always told people like, and I got it from a friend of mine who plays in an organization who's a Sigma, and he said, that some people always be an iota, some people always just be a centaur. When do you become an iota man and learn? I tell people, no, don't focus on Iota Phi Theta so much. Focus on the incorporated, um,
Oh, beautiful.
because a lot of times we forget that in the end, this is a business.
Mhm.
Yes, we go out, we have different events, we have parties, we do community service, but have you learned how to market from this? Uh, have you learned how to do graphic designs for your events? Have you learned how to
Mm,
help build your website? Have you learned how to run social media from this? Have you learned how to recruit? Have you learned how to interview people? Have you learned how to be a good interview and how to be interviewed? Uh,
mm,
all of those things are important because the goal should be after you graduate, in 10 or 15 years, brother, we want you to be CEO of some company to
mm,
hire some other brothers, and not just iotas, but maybe some good omegas, some good kappas, some AKAs and deltas that need positions. They're talented, they want that kind of work.
mm.
um and I don't mean to be like excluding other groups, other non-minority groups, but guess what? If we don't help ourselves, then who's going to help us? Charity
That's
begins at home.
that's
So
right.
you got to take care of home first. So,
That's right.
but as far as the undergrads with the evolution of Iota Phi Theta, it's interesting. And me, fortunately for me, having a 14 and 17-year-old, I see where they're coming from. I
Mm,
can appreciate the where they're changing things and trying to use what they have now at their disposal to build an organization.
mm,
You have social media. You can put a flyer in and go into a room and airdrop a flyer for an event, just
mhm,
like that. Um, so I'm glad to see the way they are growing. I think the biggest thing, and it's the same way as when I was an undergrad, just remember, we're the elders. We've been where you are, and we have 3 chapters that we advise as an alumni chapter. And it's like, listen, this is your chapter, this is your brand to build. But this is what I see when you're thinking about doing this.
mhm.
This is what I think about that idea. Now you can decide whatever you want to. I wouldn't do it personally, but that's your call. But one thing that we have to do as alumni members, seeing younger brothers come in, for the sororities, younger sisters come in, is unfortunately you have to let them bump their head sometime. Uh, just like we're raising kids, my kids, the biggest thing I have to do is get you through this. That's it. I just
Mhm,
have to make sure that you don't go to jail, end
mhm,
up in somebody's newspaper article or something worse. If I can
mhm.
just keep you alive and keep you learning, you'll be okay. So,
Yeah, because reflecting back on our own college years, there was some dumb stuff that we did, and we
oh
just
yeah.
just had to. Ooh, that was
Aren't you
prayer.
glad there was no TikTok, no Facebook Live? Because and that's one thing we're trying to teach them as well. Like, listen, the brother who's a recruiter, he'll tell you, he'll pull up your social media and be like, man, if I went through your social media looking for stuff, I'm not hiring you.
There you go.
I'm not giving you an opportunity. Like, man, I just saw that you were at this event that was on the news 2 months ago. I'm not, so that's our responsibility, to try to pull them up to where they need to be at. You see all the potential they have, the energy, the enthusiasm, the engagement. And it's like, listen, just I know you think I'm wrong, but just try it.
Mhm. That's
Just
right.
trust me this one time and see how it works out.
Mhm.
Uh, and then when you have that success, it starts to click for them. And then they see like, okay, that actually man, that did go the way you said it would go. So, uh,
Elders know what they're talking about. See.
Yeah, just a little
These
bit.
gray hairs mean something, right?
So listen, these are silver, okay? These are all hard-earned lessons. That's what I tell people. I don't have gray hair. I have silver hair. I mean, I've
Hmm.
earned every one of these. So,
Beautiful. You guys are advisors for 3 undergraduate chapters. What are the current requirements for somebody to pledge undergrad?
okay. Right now, we require you be in good standing with your university. And
Mhm.
typically that's a 2.5 GPA.
Okay, 2.5.
You have to be a second semester freshman.
Hmm.
And we want to see you involved in campus. Uh,
Okay.
we don't want to bring it's great to have a person with a 4.0 GPA, but we don't want that 4.0 individual who just is in the room all day. What are you doing?
Okay.
What do you bring to the table? Uh, at our age of the fraternity, it's like, hey, this is a mutually beneficial,
Hmm.
transaction. We would love to see you in the organization.
Okay.
This is what we can provide. Once you graduate, you mentioned the job board. You mentioned, I mentioned different brothers in different positions that can get you where you want to go. Brothers who are in undergrad doing digital design, in sports, things like that. If this is where you want to get to, guess what? We know brothers that are there.
Great.
But again, as a individual that wants to come in as an undergrad, the basic minimums, like I said, that 2.5 GPA, second semester freshman, and have some type of activity on campus. We want
Mhm.
you, I would rather have that, 3.0 or 2.75 that's in the SGA, the Black Student Union, or
Yeah.
not just that, but the Hispanic Student Union,
Yeah.
whatever you're involved in. One thing I love about IOTA is, I have brothers of all shades and colors.
Very diverse. Yeah.
One of the best brothers in my chapter is a Jewish guy, and he's a bourbon drinker. So, hey, he's always inviting himself to have bourbon, but the biggest thing about it is, in the end, it's brotherhood. That's what we
Mhm.
stand on.
Yeah.
And if we can find that common ground and relate and find that brotherhood, that's all that matters to us. We're not so, back in the 60s, yeah, it was a black fraternity.
Mhm.
Now on even our
Wow.
website is predominantly African American. But
Yeah.
again, we're looking for people that are engaged in community change and shifting the paradigm for what leadership looks like. What
Mhm.
does a fraternity that's going to be impactful in this community, what do they do and how do they
Mhm.
move? So that's what's important for us.
Okay. Now you mentioned leadership. You as the current head of the fold there for Alpha Alpha Omega, what have been some of your more rewarding memories and moments leading the flock there?
So I came into this position in 2022. And one of the biggest goals I had was like, listen, by the time I'm done, we're going to be, we're going for chapter of the year. And actually, after only 1 year, we had conclave last year in Atlanta. Last April, I received the Midwest Regional Brother of the Year. Our chapter won the Midwest Regional Chapter of the Year, and we were also co-chapter of the year internationally.
Mm.
And it's like, all right, that's great. What do you do now?
Yeah.
Like, how do you top that? So that's probably, that, but also I can also add the intake we've had, in the last year, we've had 11 or 12 new members in the last, since I took office in the last 3 years. Actually more than that. It was 1, 2, 4, 5. It was actually 12. And we're looking at, doing some things this fall, and, things are looking good and cooking right now for spring. So,
Wow.
watching the growth, watching individuals step up in the leadership, watching guys get engaged on the awards and intake are great, but watching people develop into who
Mm.
they are as leaders. All that stuff I said before is fine, but when it comes down to it, the biggest thing I'm concerned about is like who fills your spot. You know,
Mhm.
I joke around with my guys all the time. I'll go on Google and put up how many days until December 31st, 2025. And as of today, it's 409 days, right? Uh, but I'm like, guess what? I've got a lot of work to get done.
Mhm.
Um, in October, one of the things that happens after you win something like chapter of the year, it's easy to get comfortable,
Yeah.
and get back into the old habits. And we're still doing things, but like, okay, we have to turn it up to 12. We got to take it to the next level. So, we had a, chapter revision meeting. Like, okay, this is where we want to get to. How are we going to get there? What is
Mhm.
the chapter we want to be? And we really just went at it from there and started figuring out, we've done these great things. How do we go to the next level? So, and watching brothers step up and take on those leadership roles and say, hey, I got this. I'll take this role on is truthfully the biggest, the thing I'm most happy about, in the end. So.
And of course, everybody always agrees and gets along, and we're just
yeah.
we're all just one big happy family all the time.
Always agree. Always agree. Listen, I'll tell a story. When I was an undergrad, even now, outside, hey, we're all together, we're all unified, we're all on one page. But then we get back to that house. That house has some stories, I'm not gonna say there was a whole knocked in the wall where brothers were wrestling with each other.
Mike Tyson fights of your own, right?
No, not Mike Tyson, maybe not that heavy, but brothers get into arguments and stuff, but that's that passion that you have for it. Like, when you're passionate about something, you're locked in, what's the right way, but just like brothers, you're gonna fight, you're gonna argue, you're gonna disagree about stuff, but in the end, what really matters, what's really going to have the impact that we're looking for in the end. And I've told people before, like, what, even if you don't agree with something, support it. And when it's all said and done, you can always come back and say, I told you so. I told you it was going to work, but you don't want to see me. I told you I was right. But, but in the end, if everybody locks in and supports it, and when it wins, everybody comes out on top. So.
Okay. So you mentioned your time as Polaris is over at the end of 2025. So 2026, 2027, will we, I don't know, will we be district something or?
I don't know yet. I don't know. Leadership is tiring. There's been a lot of questions asked, what's next? Naturally, the natural next step would be become an area or state director.
Okay.
And that's on the table, but who knows? There's no telling what doors may open up. I can neither confirm nor deny anything right now. So
I mean, the boys will be off in college or on their way, and you have a like empty nester syndrome and all of that stuff. And
you know what? When my empty nester syndrome kicks in, I think I'm gonna sit down for a little bit. The beautiful thing, because we didn't have our kids young, but we had them in our mid-20s. And the one thing I want to do is take that time as empty nesters for me and the wife to like reconnect and, like, all right, we're going to travel a little bit more. We're going to do a couple more things. Now, to that point, depending on what level you're at, there are always a conference for some of the organization in a different city. All right, we're going here this weekend. We're going there this weekend. But I'm going to be patient and see what opens up first. So.
All right. Well, we'll circle back and see. We'll circle back.
Yeah, call me in about a year and a half. There you go. We'll figure it out then.
See what the fellas let you get away with, because
yeah, that's the fun part. Like, they're not gonna let you sit.
It's
just
the brotherhood. Like, come on, sir, come on now. Don't leave us hanging. Don't leave us hanging.
You know that's your spot, right?
That's right. You know. Come on now. You know
that's your job. Quit joking. Yeah. It's we'll see what happens first though, and I think there are different roles you can play in the organization. So I'll be patient and I'll see what opens up. I don't want to rush it too soon. So.
Yeah, I mean, but I liken it to the Black folks cookout. Some of us are more equipped to be on the grill. Some of us are more equipped to bring the potato salad. Some of us are more equipped to bring just the paper plates.
Bring the paper plates. Yep.
So you don't want the barbecue to fail. So if you're on grill, you're on grill.
Exactly.
Alrighty. Well, let me ask you my random question. Then I'm going to ask you to tell us how we connect with you or Alpha Omega out there in Indy. Wherever that way. So let's see what we've got here. Can't be iota related.
Okay.
Name a song that you know by heart.
Oh, that's a tough one. I think I would say Southern Playlist of Cadillac Music by Outkast.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, don't ask me this. Now, if you put the music on, I might be able to keep up with most of it. But yeah, that's probably the one. I mean, that was 1995. Yeah, yeah. So
Okay, so just do the hook for us then. If you don't know the whole song, do the hook.
it's that Southern playlistic Cadillac funky music. Play as if you choose it. You got to be sure you're gonna use it. We're gonna get you high. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Right.
no, and I think that was 94 because I was at Fort Valley for that summer apprenticeship in 95. And that album came out, and yeah, that one.
Outcast.
I'm gonna have to put it on when I get out of here.
Andre left us hanging. He came out with the flute thing.
What was it? New Blue Sun, I think it was called. But you know what? In the tracks, like okay, it's different. Like if I got some work to do, I can put that on. Like okay, and I mean the titles. Now you got me looking like the titles are just ridiculous. Like what? This one time in Cambodia when I did when I climbed the tree and took a nap. Like hold on, bro, what am I listening to?
He did a whole 180. I was like, we're all outcasts, and I'm like, what? Okay, but hey,
that's the reunion I'm waiting for. Man, the Outcast reunion will be. You know what? I blame Erykah Badu for all of it.
She did a number on a lot of men folks.
You know what? I would say she opened her brother's third eyes and made them realize who they really were. There you go. I ain't mad at it. Do you think Erykah changed
She did her thing. She did her thing. Well, sir, tell us how we connect with Alpha Alpha Omega if we are ever your way, and so we can keep an eye on seeing if you are a state director somewhere in 2026, 27.
We're gonna figure
Speak it to existence, right?
We're gonna see what's gonna happen. I mean, the best way to follow us is on our Facebook page.
Okay.
You can look up Alpha Alpha Omega Alumni Chapter Indianapolis. That's where you'll find us at, and follow us there. That's the place we're most active at, busiest at all the time. So. And I believe I'm not sure if I've got to double check our TikTok because I'm not sure if my guy's been on that one enough or not, but that's the best way to keep up with us. You can always email us for questions too at indieiotas@gmail.com. So
awesome. Well, I thank you for your time. I appreciate the work that you're doing, your leadership. I know it's not easy leading a bunch of elder men on the mission, on the cause.
Strong men. And now, believe it or not, though, I mean, in my chapter, I have guys ranging all the way from 25 or 26, early 30s, all the way to the mid 50s. So we got a wide range of brothers in the chapter. So that benefits you got, and I'm right in the sweet spot, right in the middle.
Right, the sweet spot. Yeah, I can only, to be a fly on the walls. We've always done it this way. Why are you trying to change the stuff? No, come on, brother. This is the way they doing it now. And
exactly.
I don't want to hear about no TikTok. I don't want to hear about no TikTok. Tic-tac, what? So
the tickety talks.
Bless you, dear. Bless you, dear. And I wish you nothing but the best. And like I said, if the wife agrees, she's not here, but if the wife agrees, I speak it to existence that we will see you in some further leadership roles down the line. And just continued success to you and the men of Alpha Alpha Omega.
Thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate your time.
I appreciate you. That is all for this week's episode of The Male Perspective. I'm your host, Lana Reid, and I will see everybody next time. Oh.